just talking about this the other day because we were talking about
gravel pit
movies.
Yeah, we're talking about doing a series of movies that feature gravel pits. I was looking at this website and it was just like Matt Farley was all over it.
Most prolific songwriter ever lived.
That's correct, yeah.
Is that technically true? Oh, this is it. I'm so happy this came out. This movie's really is so good. It's such a. I mean, I really love British 60s, 70s thrillers when they're good, and this is really one of the best ones. It had never been released in the U.S. at all, any home video format. I don't know if it even theatrically ever came out in the U.S., but now it's available and lots of goodies. This is David Hemmings. He's not fat yet. He's not blow up David Hemmings, but he's not
somewhere
fat
in the middle.
Yeah, which is only like 2 years. There's like 2 years in the middle, and this is still beautiful.
Profondo grosso.
Profondo grosso. I have no sense of humor when I'm in a video store. I'm too moved.
We were just talking about George Lazenby on the flight over here because I was watching Diamonds Are Forever, and a great admirer of George Lazenby precisely because he got one taste of the Bond franchise and washed his hands and then went back to Australia to instead make a completely boneheaded action movie shot by Brian Trenchard Smith, starring Jimmy Wang Yu, who is just one of the most notoriously impossible assholes on earth. And there are several anecdotes about basically the entire cast conspiring to murder Jimmy Wang Yu on the set of this movie. What I really love about it is there's a scene in which George Lazenby is set on fire, and it's shot from several angles in slow motion where he's clearly struggling to get out of this fireproofed jacket, and you can see the fake hands that are in the sleeves of it flopping around as he's just really trying to free himself at all costs. And my admiration for a man who had the keys to the kingdom, being James Bond, handed to him, and it's like, now fuck it, I'm actually just gonna make a extremely dangerous, shitty Australian Hong Kong co-production and get set on fire instead. It's something I really tip my hat to.
Well, it's because he wouldn't cut his hair for the promotional tour for the James Bond movie, and Broccoli said, "You cut your hair. You're not appearing anywhere as you're representing James Bond with that hair." And he said, "No, I'm not cutting my hair."
It's like that sign.
You're done.
Like that song Signs.
It's amazing, right, guys? Yeah, we're not cutting our hair. So when I was here a couple of years ago, I never really could figure out how to watch Jess Franco movies other than just for the nudity. But I was, developing my taste. And then very magically, about 2.5 years ago, it just all happened, and he made sense to me. Those movies made me decide to shoot Sweet East myself, be the cinematographer, because when Jess Franco, once he started dating Lena Romay, he started shooting the movies himself, and basically, he's operating the camera at least, and he's deciding when to zoom in on her body parts and things like that. And I thought that was pretty. The director should have that power. An option. I mean, just what's so great here is just that these things that I've just never seen physical copies of, Blu-rays, because the print runs are so low now. It's just they just come and they're gone. They don't hang around.
Jim Van Bebber's Deadbeat at Dawn, who has the distinction of being the other famous Wright State University motion picture production program dropout besides myself. A very great regional action picture shot largely in Dayton, Ohio, with a little bit of material in Cincinnati's Over the Rhine. Has one of the finest climaxes in all of American pictures, where the protagonist, Goose, played by Van Bebber himself, at one point threatens to rip the throat of the primary antagonist out. And after this knockdown, drag-out set piece where he's dragged by a car and run up against a brick wall, does indeed reach in and pull his throat out of his neck. Couldn't be prouder to have at least some of the same pedigree as Mr. Van Bebber. Also, my late professor Julia Reichert briefly appears in this film as a diner waitress who is given a thorough dressing down by an obese man in a spangled Elvis costume. High masterpiece.
What in the world is this? What is this? Matt, explain this bogus Criterion Collection Crazy Family? This is a great film. I wonder what the source is that this is coming from.
We made that ourselves.
Okay, all right.
We downloaded it. You know, there's like fake Criterion covers online.
Also not.
I didn't know
bad.
that. Oh yeah.
Also not half bad.
Okay, Bursty, this is like top 10 movies for me. This is I have I have a Japanese DVD, that DVD, this. I have them all just in case there's like some slight difference in color or something, I have to choose someday. Again, these are things I should be getting rid of, but this is a great film. It's just, I don't know, it's Japanese punk. It's the best one. Relentless. Oh, you got an ATG section. Now, how many video stores in America have that? This was this was an employee pick for a minute.
Oh, shit.
Video.
Look at that. I'm on the fucking back.
This is a really great cameraman, the cinematographer. Another example of director, camera operator, Philip Grandview. And it's a very, very visceral, his movies. And really, you feel like the camera's right in your face, touching you and bumping into you, making you bleed. That's good.
Both great admirers of Blake Edwards' The Carrie treatment, starring James Coburn. I know Sean is particularly a fan of how James Coburn's hair looks in it. This is not Mr. Patman, but another sort of medical world
I think
drama.
this is better.
Yeah, I think so. Based on a Michael Crichton book, if I'm not mistaken. And it's from the kind of, let's say, troubled years in Blake Edwards' career where
He's
it's
kind of
Wild Rovers.
Yeah, it was a work for hire, so he wasn't too passionate about it.
And yet, nevertheless.
It's got some great action, some great stuff. It was one of those movies that I got mad at everybody that had not told me to see it,
Yeah, and I just like Coburn.
And then it's because none of my friends had seen it. Oh, that's why no one told me to
I'd
see
written
it.
about it.
But it's really just you. And I watched it again right away. It's one of those rare things. I watched it and then I just watched it again same day.
Coburn's just so fun. He's got that like kind of big pussycat kind of, and like his weirdly long hands that he uses in such a like sort of strange, expressive way.
Yeah. He's light. He's got a special body.
It's very special. I'm looking at the new releases. This is the competition. This is what we're competing with.
It could have been.
This is what we are up against.
Do you have a message to Mr. Cruz?
You're going down, motherfucker. Simple as that. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Great guy.
So you've done a few of these or what?
No, this will be.
Okay, all right. Okay, good. All right. So we don't know.
Setting the bar.
So you don't know
very
high. How much editing you're gonna have to do. Those Criterion Closet videos are pretty insufferable, mostly because they just pick out like the most standard movies. I don't like why would you Friedkin's in there talking about Citizen Kane and
Picking out shit nobody's seen.
Yeah, it's like why would you? Yeah, why would you? Yeah, why? That's the point, though. This is a really great New York movie. One of our favorites. We used to play it. We played this movie at Kim's video probably more than any other tape, honestly. Great little cab chase scene with Mandy Patinkin, and there's some frozen yogurt jokes in the beginning, and it's got it all.
I mean, I would be remiss us being in Atlanta without mentioning what to me is the quintessential Atlanta film, directed by cinematographer William Fraker. Just kidding, Burt Reynolds ostensibly directed it.
Yeah, no, it definitely was Fraker.
It's got just a really nice, nasty cop boiler room atmosphere, Durning, like a sort of blubbering, blustery Durning.
That's all he did is the career.
Forget the stuntman whose entire thing, and he's also in Stick, like his entire thing was taking falls from incredibly great heights.
Yeah.
He takes like I think the longest recorded free fall on a film set at the time of the shooting from what I believe is today the Westin Hotel, which at the time the film is made is like the only skyscraper in downtown Atlanta. It's a real banger.
This should be in the horror section. This is one of the most disgusting movies ever made. This is a movie that we watch every year in my home, and we have like a college-style drinking game where every time somebody looks in the camera, you have to take a drink, which is it's very frequent in the film. It's not the only reason I like it. Richard Baskin music and Richard Baskin's face and hair, really remarkable things. I don't know. And I think Alan Rudolph, who was an assistant to Robert Altman, this was Alan Rudolph's first film, like after being with Altman for some time, and I think that he borrowed a little bit from Altman's obviously cast, but he makes it a lot weirder and a lot more interesting to me. And then because the Altman film after this is Perfect Couple, and to me that's Altman's best movie, and I just feel like they were doing something to each other. And there's actually a poster for Welcome to LA and one of the locations in Perfect Couple, and then he followed up with Remember My Name, which is also does not have any legit home video format release, but it's a beautiful film, and I hope it gets more famous. Geraldine Chaplin, anything with Anthony Perkins in the late 70s is great. Talk about a strange body. His physique is really special. Where you at, Nick? Now see, Australian stuff. No, all these Australian directors moved to America in the late 70s, early 80s, and brought all their stars with them. So the early VHS days, there was tons of Australian movies being released in the U.S. on VHS that have never subsequently, seen any sort of format improvements. Or so I have a ton of VHS Australian movies that just still the only way to see them. Coca-Cola Kid. I think I like the cover, but that was the old basically the old cover and the old poster. It's a wonderful movie. Really hard to kind of like categorize. Most of Makoveyev's films, they don't really. I don't remember what section this would have gone in a normal video store back in the day. Probably comedy. It's sort of like it's a special kind of movie. Look at Eric Roberts. Yeah, it's not even what it really looks like in the movie, but. Coca-Cola Kid played late night on TV. I didn't have cable where I grew up. It hadn't reached us. We were too far out in the middle of nowhere. But late night on TV, sometimes movies would come on and they just forgot to edit certain scenes out. And Coca-Cola Kid came on. There's a scene with her in a shower with a little kid, and made an impression on me. John Waters, grew up in Maryland, so it's pretty. I don't really value the other famous Baltimore filmmaker so much, but John Waters is always an inspiration. We definitely have some Cecil B. Demented in our movie. A little bit of I was in Paris for a few months in 2000, and I started feeling really homesick, and then I saw this movie in the theater in Paris, and I saw it like multiple times in 1 week, and it made me feel like home again. It's to live. Yeah, there you go. Zulawski, yeah, we did have there's a sort of a little bit from this film here that we were inspired. This is again just like the audition scene with the TV monitors and everything. This was inspired by this movie, in our movie, The Sweet East. But La Femme Publique, Robert Downey, and Borovchik right underneath him. That's it. If I had two directors that I could only watch movies by, it'd be them. Okay, we got Rybczynski. He did a lot of he was a pretty pioneering music video guy, but Polish. He was living in New Jersey actually in the 80s, I think. And he was a pioneer also of just video technologies. I think they shot some of the first HD, what they were calling it HD in like 1988, Sony stuff. But his films are completely I don't understand still like his techniques at all. Like this movie that he won an Academy Award for, Tango, you watch it, it's don't understand what I'm looking at, but I love it. This is a really great. I want to see more of his films. Arthur Bresson. There's Bresson, and Bresson. There's like all these Bresson. This is great. He also made a movie that's kind of a little bit it's a conversation about maybe the positivities of child abuse. It's called Abuse.
Oh, and this.